Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started here in about 2 minutes as we wait for more people to come in. So just stay tuned.
Well, good morning back at you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our workshop today for SCORE Akron, taking the guesswork out of pricing. We are going to get started here in a second with Al, but I wanted to let you know a couple things. By the end of today, you will receive an email from me with the recording of this workshop as well as the slides that Al's going to present. If you have any questions throughout, you can type them in the chat or in the Q&A. And you can also raise your hand, and then we will be able to answer them. And then at the end, Al will have time as well to answer any questions. So with that, Al, are you ready?
I am ready. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you here. If this is your first SCORE webinar, welcome. If it's your second or third one or more, welcome back. Glad to have you. We'll run about 45 minutes or an hour, but I encourage you to ask questions all the way along. Then we talk about what's important to you, things you need to know, as opposed to what I think you need to know. So what are we going to do this morning? We're going to talk about SCORE. We're going to talk about pricing concepts, how to use pricing as a strategic marketing tool. We talk about differentiating branding and why they have an impact on pricing, and then deciding on your pricing do's and don'ts. So having said that, let me begin with SCORE. SCORE is a national organization or resource partner of the Small Business Administration. There are over 10,000 volunteers like myself and spread over 200 chapters in 10 regions and a bunch of districts, and we are the Akron chapter. SCORE's mission is to help small businesses, and we do it through mentoring and education. And our vision, bold as it is, so that every person has the support they need. Every person, every business has the support they need to thrive. We haven't got there yet. It's unlikely we'll ever get to every person, but we've been at this since 1964, so we're making a big dent in it. I said we do two things. We do counseling, mentoring, giving business advice. I like the term coaching best because it really speaks about what we do. We are your business coach, and a good coach never touches the ball. That's your job as the player. So as a small business owner or somebody that wants to start it, it's going to be your business. So you have to do it. We'll get up from the bench, we'll yell, we'll scream, we'll help you, we'll talk to you, we'll help you design the plays, but you ultimately have to run them. What's important to note about our services is they're free and they're confidential. So we don't talk about you or your business to anybody but you. We do it face to face. We can do it in person, and we can do it Zoom. We can do it by phone. Whatever meets your needs the best. The other offering we have is workshops. You're doing one right now, and we have starting your business, business planning, financial management, all kinds of. And you can find it at our website at score.org. And if you'd like to get a mentor, and I would suggest to anybody that has a business, get a mentor, you can find a mentor at score.org. Why do you need a mentor? Well, we've just finished up the Summer Olympics. And as I remember, those Olympians are the best athletes in the world last month, the best in the world. And every single one of them has a coach. If you want to be the best in the world, what could you learn from a world-class athlete? So having said that, let's begin with pricing concepts. Every market that you find, every market looks like this. It's a pyramid, because across the bottom are the number of potential customers, and as you go up the pyramid, that you go up in price. So at the tippy top of the pyramid, you have the very most high-priced items and the fewest number of potential customers. Down at the bottom, you have the most number of potential customers at the lowest price. So take the car market, for example. Down at the bottom, you find used cars, and there are more used cars sold in the U.S. than any other, all new cars combined. In fact, you think about it, that makes sense because they're the lowest in price. New cars are expensive. The most luxury cars here are up the BMWs and Mercedes and Lamborghinis up at the top of the pyramid. They don't sell nearly as many, and they're very, very pricey. So it depends on your product or your service or your business model as to where you want to be in the pyramid. And it's important that that business model, that product, that service fit the price point that it deserves to have and can command. So how might this work? Let me give you an example. Ann and Bob are twins, born a couple of minutes apart, and they're both going to get into the grass cutting business, lawn care business. Now, Ann has a vision of how that should be. She's a little older, so she has a little different vision than her brother Bob. But Ann has a business she calls Ann's Concierge Lawn Care Service. Ann manicures your lawn. She takes great care of your lawn. They cut it, they trim it, they edge it, they pull weeds. They take great care of your lawn. They make sure when they leave, there's no grass clippings on your driveway or your sidewalk, and it looks great. You sign up with Ann for the entire season. And Ann's not cheap, but if you want your lawn to look terrific, Ann's the person for you. Ann will go so far as if you're having a garden party and you tell her when it's going to be, she'll come out, she'll cut your grass that day of or the day before. If it looks a little green or doesn't look green enough, maybe she'll fertilize it a week or two ahead of time so it looks green. And if it's a drought, you've got a small enough lawn, she'll actually bring a water truck out and water your lawn so it looks fantastic for your garden party. Ann's crew is in uniform. They have white Ann's Concierge Lawn Care Service shirts. They have collars on them. They wear khaki slacks and whatever tennis shoes they want. Ann's rule is if your shirt gets dirty, you change it. You must carry a clean shirt in the truck, so they always look pristine, which mimics her business model of doing pristine care on your lawn. Bob, on the other hand, has a very, very different view of this. He calls his business Bob Cuts. And all Bob does is cut the grass. He doesn't do anything. If you got weeds, not his problem. You got grass on your driveway or sidewalk, not Bob's problem. When his guys show up, lawnmowers come off the truck, cuts the grass, lawnmowers go back on the truck, out they go. Bob has no uniform, doesn't require his lawn care people to wear shirts. If they do, it may be today's shirt, it might be yesterday's shirt, it might be a week ago's shirt. Bob doesn't care because all he does is cut the grass. What's interesting here is that they both make about the same amount of money. Very, very different business models, very, very different pricing, but they both make the same amount of money. Ann cuts very few lawns, spends a lot of time with each lawn, charges a lot of money for each lawn. Bob doesn't spend any time on lawns other than just to cut them, cuts lots and lots and lots of lawns at a bargain price, and that's how that works. Bob makes about the same amount of money. You think about high-end grocery stores, they have fewer customers, but they charge more product, more unique products in their grocery store. At the other end, you find the deep discounters, the Marks in Ohio, the Walmarts, the Kmarts are down at the bottom. They sell it less expensively. And just think about that market. There's some place for everybody. I think about sneakers. When my kids were young, I bought the cheapest sneakers I could buy. I had 3 boys, and they would either tear them up, outgrow them, or in the case of one boy, he'd lose one. How you lose one sneaker is beyond me. But he'd come home and say, "Dad, where's the other sneaker?" "I don't know." So now me, on the other end, I wear sneakers. I want them to have lots of cushioning. I want to take care of my knees and my back. So I spend a lot of money on my sneakers, but I don't wear them out. I don't outgrow them, and I certainly don't lose them. So very, very different markets, very different times, very different uses, very, very different things. And so the question that we'll try to answer for you today is, where in this pyramid do you want to be? And what has an impact on that, and what affects that? So let me stop, take a breath, ask if anyone has questions about the concept of the pricing pyramid.
All right, anybody have any questions? You could type them in, raise your hand. So far, so good, Al.
So far, so good. Okay. So when you think about pricing, I'd like you to think about pricing as a strategic marketing tool, not a financial exercise. This is strategic marketing, because pricing is one of the strategic tools in your business toolbox. SCORE did a study a while back and found out that owners and managers 70% of the time were unclear what their pricing strategy was. Yes, they had a price. Yes, they had one, but weren't clear on why they had it and where it was. Was it too high or too low? They hadn't thought about it. And price is one of the single biggest things you can do to ensure the profitability and success of your business. It's a strategic marketing tool. As I said, it's not an accounting function. And what I'd like you to do from this point forward is think about price and exchange that for the word value. Because customers pay the price based on the value they perceive for that product. In my case, the very inexpensive sneakers that I want to buy for my boys, I wanted them cheap because they're going to wear them out or outgrow them. So I'm not paying for very much value. If it covers their feet, cushions their feet, protects their feet a little bit, that's good enough for me. Now, when I buy sneakers today, because I don't outgrow them, I don't wear them out, I don't lose them, I want good cushions, quality sneakers that are going to help me just protect my joints. So think about price, exchange the word price for value. What do customers value your product? Back to the pricing pyramid in the car market, if you think about a Mercedes or a BMW or a Lamborghini, one of the high-priced cars, people put a lot of value on that brand, right? Whereas the used car market, what people are usually looking for is quality transportation, reliable transportation at a less than new car price. So they value the product for what it does for them, not necessarily the brand, because they're buying a used car. They just want transportation. There may be more than that, but fundamentally, it's transportation is what they want. The Lamborghini buyer, it's not just transportation at all. It's a lot more about the brand and being seen in the cars like that. What are some strategies you might think about? You might want to price based on your profit maximization or long-term profits, or try to get traffic or growth, or loyalty, or increasing demand, or penetration, or maybe survival. There could be lots of reasons why you might price your product, just in thinking about it. So let's talk about marketing differentiation and branding and what impact that has on your ability to price. I think we have a question, Laura.
We have somebody with a raised hand. Let's see. Oh, not anymore. Um, Somebody was referencing back to your example about the grass companies. So one works more or one utilizes more supplies to keep the lawn looking great and grow healthy and make it the same as the other landscaper, only cut. Does the second landscaper charge the same as the first? Is
They
one
charge,
giving less services for higher rates?
I'm sorry, they charge very, very different rates. Very, very different rate. The Ann Ann's rate for the season is in thousands of dollars. Bob's rate to cut your grass is in the under $100 range, depending on the size of your lawn. So very, very different, very, very different rates based on the value and the amount of service that they're providing. Again, let's talk about differentiation and branding, how that has effect on the price. So ask yourself, how many competitors are in your marketplace? However you define that. Is it geographic or is it by product or service? And what makes you different? Are you better? Are you faster? Are you cheaper? And when you think about faster, better, cheaper, remember, you can't get all three. You can't have all three. You can get 2 out of 3, but you can't do 3 out of 3. So you can be better and faster, but you can't be cheaper. You can be cheaper and faster, but you're not better. So you can only do 3 or 2 out of 3. So ask yourself, what makes you stand out from the crowd? And what do you have that your competitors don't? Or said differently, why would they leave a competitor and come to you? And there's many reasons why they might do that. Question, are these pricing guidelines for effective for digital only services or mostly brick and mortar? The pricing concepts apply to any product or service because any product or service sits in a marketplace that looks like a pyramid. So whatever that product or service is, customers pay for value. Whether that value is a thing, whether it's a service, or whether it's something that's digital, it's the same concept. Concept does not change with whatever your product or service is. It's very much the same. So brand is what your product is identified as. Second bullet point says the most important thing about brand, it's a promise. It's the promise of uniformity of product experience. Whatever it is, you get the same, whatever it is, first time, second time, last time, next time, every time. So if you exchange the term promise for brand, you said, what does your business promise? What do you promise? For example, McDonald's promises that you, anywhere in the world, you have a McDonald's French fry, it tastes the same. Any box of cherry Jello tastes exactly the same no matter where you buy that box of cherry Jello. So Jello's brand promise is no matter where you buy it, what store, anywhere in the world, cherry Jello tastes exactly the same. It's that uniformity experience that creates that brand. That carries on through any of your marketing, your symbols, your name, your logo. It all carries through. It's that promise. So McDonald's has the golden arches. That was their promise. You saw the golden arches, you knew what you were getting in terms of their French fries, their quarter pounder with cheese, their Big Mac always would be the same no matter where you bought it. So that brand is what allows you to charge a greater premium than a non-brand product. You notice that in many stores there's a house brand and there's some non-brands that are less money than the name brand. The name brand always charges a premium because it's that promise that you're going to get the same thing every time. If you buy the off-brand, sometimes you're not so sure what you get. So brand has the effect of allowing you to charge a higher price after you establish that brand. Let me again stop and see if people have questions before we continue on.
Okay, let's see. Question, other than what competitors are charging, where do I start on pricing for a service-based business? I'd start with break-even cost of materials. Wait, I'd start with break-even slash cost of materials for a product, but have trouble on the service end where to start.
Uh, you certainly need to understand the cost that you have in that service that you're providing. So that would be where you want to start is your cost. And that starts roughly with what kind of money are you interested in making? Uh, if it's a pure service product, you might want to think about that you can't spend 100% of your time providing that service. You have to spend some percentage of your time marketing, some percentage of your time internally, keeping your books, developing product, uh, and externally marketing. So there's a lot of things that enter into that. And my recommendation would be get yourself a SCORE business coach and talk that through. So let's talk about break-even analysis, what it is, and again, what impact that has on pricing. So break-even analysis, the break-even point is when the level of sales, whatever that is, covers all the fixed costs. So if you've got a building, once you pay for the lease on the building, you pay for the insurance, you pay for the maintenance, you pay for the utilities. Once you've got all that paid for from the profits that you've sold, that is your break-even point, right? So that tells you how much sales you need to break even to pay all the bills. That is critical that you know what that number is, because the number one reason that business goes out of business, they run out of money. Why do they run out of money? Because they keep paying for these costs month after month with not enough business to cover those costs, and eventually they just run out of money. So that's important to know. The other thing is important to know is in that break-even analysis, am I making money or not? So let's say the landscaping company, Al's Landscaping, has $1,000 in fixed costs. He's got to pay for his truck, got to pay for his insurance, he's got to pay for his lawnmower because he bought them all on a payment schedule. So he's got $1,000 a month in fixed costs. He makes, just for the sake of discussion, $25 profit per lawn. So the question you say is, how many lawns does he have to cut to break even? And the answer is, you take that $1,000 divided by 25, you end up with 40 lawns each month break even. So that's Al's Landscaping Company break even. Once he mows his 41st lawn in the month, he starts putting money in his pocket. And that is an important number to know. Let's take that one step further. That break-even point, what do you do with it? I mean, it's how you establish the pricing floor. So you want to price it anywhere below that break-even point. It tells you when you're going to start making money. It tells you what your minimum sales volume has to be. So in Al's case, he's got to cut at least 40 lawns to pay the bills. He doesn't make any money yet. And it's a way of telling how your business is doing moment by moment. Remember, Al's Landscaping Company, he needs to mow 40 lawns each month to break even. So if he cuts in a 20-day month, if he cuts 2 lawns a day or 10 lawns a week, he's breaking even. So if today Al cuts 3 lawns, he did pretty good this week. If he did 12 lawns this month, this week, he did pretty good. In 2 weeks, if he did 25 or 30 lawns, he's doing really well. All right. So it's a way of not only establishing your price floor, but knowing on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute basis how well your business is doing when you know the break-even point. So you know what kind of sales you need to have in order to start making money. And if you're not, then you need to work on that, but you can tell minute by minute. All right. I'm going to stop again, ask for questions, and we'll spend the rest of the time talking about ways to decide on the price that you want to charge. for your business.
Anybody have any questions? Here we go. Are you going to discuss choosing and pricing wholesale projects?
I'm not going to talk about wholesaling. Sorry about that. But I would suggest to you that the concepts here are exactly the same. It's just your customer isn't the ultimate consumer. It's maybe, if you're a wholesaler, maybe it's a retailer. So it's a B2B business, but the pricing concepts still are the same. You have to know what your break-even point is. You have to know where you start making money. And you have to decide what value ultimately the customer is going to get for that and what the wholesaler is going to be able to charge to the customer. So it's a little trickier.
Okay. Do you take into consideration loss or damage of inventory or bad debt for pricing?
Absolutely, yes. If 1 in 10 person doesn't pay their bills, you've got to add that into the pricing. If you have a product that has a shelf life and it goes bad or rots or gets obsolete, technically obsolete, you have to allow for that.
Uh, let's see. As a startup, my costs are high because of lack of volume. So does my sale price start high and then lower later?
Fundamentally, you want to start high because you can always lower your price easily. The marketplace rewards people that lower their price. The marketplace does not reward people that raise their price. In fact, every time you raise the price, you risk losing customers just because they said, "Why'd you do that?" They go look, it causes them to look at your competitors.
Okay, how do you factor variable costs into the break-even analysis?
You don't. Break-even analysis is all about covering your fixed cost. That's the definition of break-even analysis, right? However, the break-even analysis is based on the profit. So you look at the price that you sell it for minus its variable cost or the cost of goods sold. What is left is your profit that is then used to pay off your fixed cost. So it doesn't enter into break even other than it when you're calculating profit.
All right. How will I know what competitors charge? I'm in a consulting business.
That's a little tricky. And that's a question for your SCORE mentor in your particular market. That's not something that I'm prepared to answer on this broad a scale. Sorry about that.
What do you suggest for getting information on fixed costs, like if rental leasers don't give out that info?
This would be your fixed costs, your business, and if you're renting or leasing something, you would know what that cost is because they're charging you, if I understand the question properly.
In my case, there is much competition. And if I charge high, I lose the client. Recommendations.
In a very competitive market, you need to match their price pretty much. Unless you have something that differentiates you, makes you different, better, faster, higher quality, better delivery, you're going to have to go with what the market is charging. And the more your product looks like a commodity, the more that is true. The less you can differentiate it, the more you have to go with exactly what the market price is. If you would like a mentor, again, go to score.org and get yourself a mentor, and you can have a one-on-one with somebody that is close to you geographically, or anybody else. You're free to choose any mentor you'd like based on the website. Right? Okay. So how do you decide on your price? A lot of things go in deciding that. But as with Ann and Bob, remember their business models are very different. Their pricing is very different. Ann's charges on the season, Bob charges by the lawn. Very different pricing, very different business models. So let's talk about how some of the things you can do to think about your pricing. Lisa has a question, her hand's up. Do we know what that is?
Yes, I did have a question. It was about the renters, the rental. It's more like I'm trying to get information from leasing agencies and they wouldn't give me that information. So in order for me to put that in my fixed costs, I need to know how much it is. And I wanted to know, what is your suggestion on getting that information?
Are you going to lease the product?
No, I'm not gonna lease. I just need a building in order for me to start my business in. So in order for me to put that in my fixed cost, um,
If you're going to lease a building or lease a property, the lease lessor needs to give you a price, exactly what he's going to charge per square foot or for that particular building or office space. You've got to have a price. I mean, same with buying a house. If you buy a house, you got to know what the price is. So they're going to have to tell you what that is. Ask them.
thank you.
Welcome. Okay. What are things you could do to decide on your price? You first have to think about the price floor. You know, what is the lowest price that you can charge and still make money to cover all your costs? Have an idea of what the highest price the market will bear. And in a very, very competitive market, you have to look at your competitors and see what they're doing. Decide, do you have something that's better or faster, or have some unique feature that they don't have that might allow you to charge a higher price. And again, think about, is it proprietary? Are you the only one that has it? Is it a product that's high demand? Is it essential? Or is it something that anybody can buy at the corner store? And that begins to get you thinking in the directionally about your price. So one way to do it is to take your costs and then mark it up by a percentage. Depending on what market you're in and what that product is, it might be 2, 3, 4, 5 times. In a competitive market, you have to look at what the competitors are charging, because you got to be within that small band of what everybody else is charging. If you can demonstrate value, then you can price based on value, because the customers pay for value. The same way is when I buy sneakers, I'm paying for value. I want something that's going to feel good, be comfortable on my feet, give me great cushioning, and last a long time. And for that, I will pay a premium. I won't buy a $20 sneaker like I did for my boys, because I don't lose them, I don't wear them out. So it's, again, you want to think about that value that you're providing to your customer. If you're trying to get into a market, you might want to price your product a little bit lower in order to get into that market. If you're in a brand new market, you might want to skim the top. In other words, you start with a high price, and when you skim that off, then you lower the price a little bit, and you again pick up in the pricing pyramid people that won't pay quite that price, but there's more folks, more customers. And then you keep, again, lowering your price as you skim down through the pricing pyramid. You might want to have price where you just look at what the industry is pricing, and then you price very close to them, or maybe just a little bit under. There may be times where you want to have an elastic price and base that on some factor. For example, if you buy a standby seat on an airplane, you get a much lower price than a guaranteed seat. But you might be sitting in the terminal for a couple of days, wait for an empty flight. Cruise lines are notorious for doing this by dropping the price to basement levels the day before the ship sails to fill up their cabins. The problem with that is if you count on doing that, you may be sitting on the dock. But again, if some people are willing to do that, you may want to price your product to keep competition out, and you may want to do bundled pricing. So if you buy one of this and one of that, you get a different price than if you buy only one, or if you buy two at a time or three at a time. You might want to think about loss leader pricing. Grocery stores are notorious again for loss leader pricing. They put something on sale, and you go in to buy that one product, but on the way in, you grab a shopping basket, and the grocery store knows that you're not going to buy that one item and leave. You're going to buy some other stuff on the way through. So that will make up for the loss leader pricing. Prestige pricing is based on the idea that you get what you pay for. Mom always told me I got what I paid for. And the higher price usually indicates higher quality. Not always, but usually. So you get what you pay for. If you've looked at products in a store, you may find that there's three. Take a blender, for example. You're going to buy a blender. I think you would find on the shelf there are three. There's a $50 blender, there's a $200 blender, there's a $600 blender. And what the retailer has learned is that you'll look at that and you'll say, $600 is way too much. I'm not going to pay that for a blender. But $50, that can't be. That's got to be a cheapie. That's got to be no good. So you buy the $200 one. And I've done this. I've asked if I could buy the $50 one. They don't have any on stock. And they don't have any in the $600 either, because they know most people are going to buy that one right in the middle. But prestige pricing can work in your advantage. You may want to offer variable pricing, which is offering the same product at a price to different customers. So, for example, some people will offer a discount price to veterans. I think that's perfectly fine. Early bird specials are great. Late purchase, I said, airline tickets, cruise tickets, theater tickets, all are done for late purchase. And just again, want to think this through with your SCORE business coach to talk about what are the things that you can do to decide on where's the best place for your price. It's always easier to lower your price than it is to raise your price. Nonlinear pricing is if you're going to bundle it up where you have one for $4 or two for $3.50 each, or four for $3 each. Everybody wins. The customer gets a discount, but you also sell more. You sell more goods because you're selling a quantity. You can have promotional discounts. You can have parity pricing, which is the going rate, which maintains price levels of those near you. And you may have seen secret shoppers in stores writing down prices just so they get an idea of what other people are charging for their products. Competitive pricing is based on what competition is charging, and if you have nothing that differentiates you, then you've got to do that. Everyday low pricing is something that you see the deep discounters do, and charge under what others are charging. You can do seasonal discounting. If you walked into a store the day after Christmas, everything's on sale. Everything Christmas is on sale. And the longer it sits on the shelf, the lower the price gets. You may have, again, economy pricing, which is a no frills low price. Let's talk about pricing strategies again. Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, let me stop here and see if anybody has any price questions before we go on to pricing do's and don'ts.
Hey, Carla has her hand raised. So Carla, go ahead.
Yes, hi, thank you. I think he may have answered some of it during the pricing, but my question was, an hourly rate, say I charge this hourly rate, versus offering a package, like, I have a service. It's a consulting service. I provide that. So someone asked me to write a news release recently, and they asked me how much. And I was like, well, I don't know the extensiveness of how much time I have to put into that. So that's basically my question in the chat.
The the question of hourly pricing or package pricing is a question of who takes the risk.
Okay.
If you charge an hourly rate, then I, the customer, take the risk. If you charge a package price, then you take the risk.
Hmm.
Here in Ohio, where I live, snowplow companies will charge either by the push or for the season.
Hmm.
If they charge by the push, I take all the risks. I'm sorry, they take the risk.
Hmm.
Because if it doesn't snow, they don't make any money.
Right.
Uh, but it's good for me because if it doesn't snow, I don't pay. However, if it snows a ton and they've got to plow my driveway every day for 2 months, and I've done it by the package, I win. If I'd done it by the push, I lose. So it's a question of who takes the risk, whether you do it package or by the hour, or by the push, or by the service.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you, Al.
Okay, it's so again when you want to think about that, you want to have some confidence about the risk you're taking. If so, again, here in Ohio, it typically hasn't snowed much the last couple of years. So I might be, as the buyer, I might be said, I'm just not going to pay for a whole season because I don't think I need it. And the last 2 years, I've been right. They've plowed my driveway, I think, 3 times both years. So rather than a seasonal price, so that's something to consider.
Okay. It's helpful. Thank you.
Welcome. Before we get, we have other questions?
If I convert a 1-tier service into 3 tiers to make the current version, middle tier, more attractive, could I move features from the current version to the top tier?
Yes. Again, with my 3 blenders, the $600 blender has all kinds of speeds and modes and multiple different blades and et cetera, different size containers. The low priced has 2 speeds on and off. It has 1 blade and one receptacle. The medium one has maybe half a dozen speeds and maybe 2 blades. The $600 one maybe have a 5-year warranty. The $50 one may not have a warranty at all. So you vary the features and functions and capabilities based on, again, those 3 tiers of pricing. Next question.
How much should you be upfront on pricing? I'm in a consulting business, and should I focus more on marketing my value? Should I post hourly rates on my website, or should I discuss rates after I'm contacted? Which approach works best for consulting?
In consulting, because you're doing basically something different every time, how are you going to price that? If you put it on price on your website and don't know what you're doing for the client, that's pretty risky. So I don't recommend putting your pricing on the website. I very much recommend in any service business that you decide what the work is to be done first, then talk pricing. Because how do you decide on the value unless you know exactly what it's going to be? Now, I was looking at a driveway cleaning service. They know exactly what they want to price per square foot, and they will actually do a satellite image picture of my driveway, measure the square footage, and then quote me a price based on the square footage of my driveway. But they know then exactly how many square feet they're cleaning on my driveway. In a service business, you may not know exactly what it is you're providing. So I would not suggest doing pricing upfront till you understand the value you're going to provide.
All right, I think we're all caught up.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Before, to the previous tier question, will I lose customers using the current version when I remove features and move those features to the top tier?
Well, if you're now making me, the customer, pay more for what I was used to be getting, the answer is I'm not going to like that at all. So I would be careful of that. Now, a strategy could be you can always take your existing customers and grandfather them in at the old price. And I've done that in one of my businesses where the existing customers get the price that they signed up for, but any new customers that come in at the higher price because they were second in. The first guy in gets the best price. The second guy in pays a higher price. So that's again another pricing strategy. I think one more came in, Laura.
He wrote, not charge them more, but provide less.
Can you do that? Sure. And if you've watched the chewing gum companies, they have put fewer sticks of gum in the package and charged the same amount of money. If you watch carefully some of the other goods, they shrink the packaging to provide less product, but they don't change the price. Now that presumes that you don't have a really intelligent consumer who sees that. The intelligent consumer will say, I see what you're doing. They may choose to buy your product, they may not. But again, don't ever assume that the customers are unaware of what you're doing, when you do that. So I'm going to move to pricing do's and don'ts. Do determine your price based on the value the customers believe for that product or service, not just your costs, but the value. Do understand that price sensitivity. How important is that to your customer? And it has to be based on the attributes of the product and the benefits the customer gets, because the customer pays for value, the customer pays for benefit. Again, price is the ultimate value to the customer, and things that are unique and special about your product or service command a higher price. And last but not least, it's always easier to lower prices than it is to raise them, especially with existing customers. Don't look at prices as static. Cost of doing business and everything changes over time. So be aware that you can't set it once and forget it for the rest of your life. Don't set pricing without figuring out how it's going to affect sales and margins and profitability so that you can cover all of your costs. So don't just arbitrarily pick a number. Make sure you understand your costs first, all of them. And again, your business coach, your SCORE business coach can help you do that. If you're trying to create a value image, don't lower your price. And my last don't is don't discount your product. When you do, what you're doing is training the marketplace. They don't have to pay full price. And once you train the market, they won't pay full price. They won't. And you look at new cars. Most people do not like the new car buying experience because you got to haggle. What you know for sure is the list price, the sticker price on the car, the manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP, is the you don't have to pay that. You got to haggle. But what the car industry has taught us is we got to haggle. And nobody likes to do that. And you're never quite sure whether you got the best value, get the best price, or if they cheated you, because you just don't know. And nobody likes that. So my recommendation is don't discount. Don't tell the market that, it's a $10 item, but you get it for $9.50 today. But don't ever expect once you do that, people pay $10 again. They just won't. People that use the Groupon as a way of attracting new customers found out that it was a bad deal for the retailer. It's a horrible deal for the retailer, and that they never got any repeat customers. Because once I find that I can buy something for half price, why would I ever pay full price again? I'll just wait for that coupon to come out. So I'm not a big fan of discounting. So having said that, I'm done with the formal part of our webinar. And as Laura said at the beginning, I will stick around to answer questions as long as it takes for everybody to get their questions answered. And if it's too long a question to answer here online, I'll recommend that you get yourself a SCORE business coach, SCORE mentor advisor, and let them take the time to answer it properly.
I will be able to. I'll make sure I put a link into the Akron SCORE website for anyone that wants to get a SCORE mentor, because there have been a couple of questions about that. So let's see, we have a question here. What if you're a startup and you realize you need to spend more money and add expenses, new software, insurance, etc., to be able to provide higher valued service to your clients, and so you need to raise your prices? Do you explain to them details of these costs, how to communicate to them about raising prices?
Let me give you some insight into my 12 years as a SCORE advisor. In those 12 years, I have never, that's a bold statement, never had a startup business overprice their product. We just don't think that way. So the tendency for everybody is to underprice their product. And that's where your business coach comes in to help you think through that. Now, if you've already been in business, you've already priced your product, you've already got customers expecting that price, how do you do that? You do as little explaining as you need to. In other words, if your costs have gone up or you've had to add features and functions, tell them about what new features, new capability. In this question, it said you have to add new software. Explain to them that you're giving more value with this new software package, new value, new service, whatever it is you're doing, and said you're going to get some pushback because nobody likes people to raise prices. We just don't like that, especially after we get used to paying a lower price. Now, in these last times of inflation, we seem to get more comfortable with that, but that is not the norm of business.
All right, next question. I work in the automotive industry. We just recently found out our labor rates were too low compared to local competition. How often do you think we should do market analysis to change prices? What kind of marketing do you recommend if we should not have coupons?
First of all, I'm not in favor of coupons, and marketing is something that brings the customers to you, and we have a whole webinar on marketing, and I think that might be valuable webinar for you to attend. If you find that the cost of your labor is going up, how often do you need to do that? I'd say if it's a fast-moving labor market is tight, I think 6 months, every 6 months is about how often you should do that. If the labor market isn't all that tight and it doesn't seem to be moving fast, once a year would be fine. But don't get lazy, and do check around to see what everybody else is paying for the kind of help that you need, and so you can be competitive. Because today's workforce is very flexible. They have no loyalty, and so they move on for a better, a better price in a lot of cases, a better wage, or better benefits, or better working conditions, or something. Not quite the same.
All right, anybody, here we go, another one. Oh, somebody is suggesting, I've been in HR over 20 years, benchmark wage analysis at least every 6 months for best practice. So that's for wage analysis.
Okay. I think that's smart. So thank you for that comment. Today's market's even moving even faster with the inflation and the tightness of the market, the supply and demand has just really changed the dynamics of our market. COVID changed the dynamics of the market because so many people left the workforce. And so many baby boomers are leaving the workforce. And so it's going to continue to be a very, my prediction is a very tight market for the foreseeable future.
All right, any other questions?
Thank you all for being so attentive. I appreciate that.
Lots of thank yous here.
Mhm.
Oh, and then somebody said, thank you for confirming my suspicions about Groupon.
Yes, it's an interesting concept, but it's a really bad deal for the business. I mean, it truly is. Those of you who don't know about how Groupon works, they sell the Groupon, the coupon, to the consumer for half price, and then you get a fourth, and Groupon gets a fourth. So you're selling for example, $100 service you're giving to the consumer for $50, but you're only getting 25 for it for a $100 product or service. That's a bad deal. You can't make any money doing that. So I said, if you really think you need a discount, please talk to your business advisor and said, hey, should I be doing this? And I hope they say, no, don't do it. Bad idea. I was looking at a product this morning on the internet. It popped up, so I had to look at it. They're having a Christmas sale. They are 55% off their product. Now, why in the world would I ever pay full price when they're discounting it 55%? So $45 out of 100 is what I'm paying. Why would I ever pay more than that? The answer is I wouldn't. And the more they advertise that, the more I'm not going to pay for it. And the more they do it, the more I question what's the value of that product. If they can sell it for 55 cents or 45 cents on the dollar, what is that product? Is it really that good a product? So you do all kinds of bad things to your marketplace when you do discounts, things you don't want them to do.
All right.
So thank you all for being in attendance. Score.org is the website you need for any future webinars. Thank you all for attending. And you have a wonderful day. Have good business. Get yourself an advisor and price smartly.
Price smartly. And I will send out the slides and slides and recording later today. And I will also include a link right to Akron. It'll be Akron Scores Mentors, but you can also change the location for somebody in your area. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Have a great weekend. It's almost
Good
Friday.
weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.